Hey everybody, welcome to Crackpot, the podcast where each and every week we dive into a different Christmas conspiracy theory. Actually, we only do it about once a year, but and we discuss the merits or the demerits of each. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Tim.
I'm the other one of your hosts. My name is Zachary Jerome, I think, right?
No, yeah.
Zachary Nigel?
Nigel.
There we go. Tim, you are absolutely amplified. This is the reason for the season.
This is it. This is it. This is my Christmas present to you.
Thank
Zach.
you. You are not feigning like this excitement whatsoever.
There's none of this is acting, man. This is all, and you have no idea.
I have no idea.
All you know is that maybe Santa's involved.
Yeah.
And it's Christmas related.
Yeah. What else could you want?
And we talked about this before. Very rarely do we actually not talk about at least the broad topic before we come in.
The framework of it, right? But this one, no dice. I have no idea what we're going into here.
So, of course, this is on our Patreon feed. You know that because that's where you're listening to it. And also today we released our first Christmas episode, which I'm still very proud of. That was
good.
Fun, the Santa one.
It's one of the few episodes I actually remember recording.
I don't.
I remember sitting there with that sheet that you gave me and then trying to read it. I was like, okay,
yeah. Like, these are the facts. Let's talk through the facts, man. Okay, so the difference between this one and that one, not that this isn't kid-friendly.
Ooh.
That one is kid-friendly. So if you haven't heard that before and you're listening with younger children, that's the one you want to listen to, okay? This episode is, of course, kid-friendly. We always keep things PG, language, and so on and so forth. But it's a little different. I'm going to pause here for a quick second. If you need to turn it off. Okay. This one, we're going to be talking about some of the origins of the Santa Claus. Okay?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not... okay. You know what?
Jump in.
Let's just jump in.
Let's do it.
Let's just jump in. Okay. Santa. Nice, jolly old man he is, right? Otherwise known as Saint Nick.
Yes.
Right.
Very confusing to me as a kid.
Agreed. And as I was looking at this today, even more confusing. It's like, why did I never question that? Why does this guy have two names?
Yeah, fair enough. Right.
So Saint Nicholas was a real person, okay?
Yep.
3rd, 4th century Greek bishop, okay? He was actually working in what is modern day Turkey, and he was known for his generosity, and he had a legendary habit of secret gift giving. Okay.
Which doesn't sound creepy, except for the fact that with that look on your face, sounds very creepy.
The secret gift giving. But you can see how, as you know, traditions were passed down and myths and legends were created. It's like, Saint Nick, that's a good name to give him, right? So my point is there's some historical fact that this Saint Nick, Santa Claus, is based on.
Gotcha. Yeah. In other words, the idea of Santa Claus originates likely with Saint Nick.
Exactly.
Got it.
Now, fast forward a couple centuries, mid 1800s, early 1900s, Santa, which we'll now call him, Santa was referred to as a right jolly old elf. You might even laugh if you saw him in spite of yourself. Okay? But if you see depictions of him, he's small, he's elfish, he's kind of mischievous and impish. It's not that big guy you see at the mall, okay?
Right.
It's actually like an elf kind of guy that creeps in your house and leaves you gifts. A little bit different vibe, but a lot of the same things were still there. He still wore red, he still came down the chimney, he still had reindeer that flew through the sky, pulling his sleigh and so on. Just a little bit different. It wasn't until 1931, Zach, that the Santa we know and love came to be because of a Coca-Cola advertisement. Yes. I didn't know this. You're nodding like,
this. Yeah. I learned about this in a marketing class in college at some point.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not going to go into the whole history of that, but basically they turned him in, from an elf to a, tall, large, jolly, humanoid type guy, big white beard and so on. That is what we think of when we think of Santa now.
Exactly. Yep. Super interesting.
Okay. So before we go any further, I want to just kind of ask you a few things about Santa. So we're on the same page.
Fair enough.
Pretty obvious questions. Okay. I think you can ace this.
Okay.
But just so we're all there. Santa is usually dressed in what color?
Red.
Okay, good. And he travels by
a sleigh
pulled by
reindeer
who
fly.
Okay, good. How does he enter your house?
Through the chimney.
Bingo. Where does he live?
North Pole.
Right. And where does he put the presents when he comes down the chimney?
Under the tree.
Or?
In the stockings?
Yeah, and the stockings are
hung around the chimney.
Yeah, with care.
Indeed.
Right. And when does he arrive?
In the nighttime.
I mean, what day?
Christmas morning.
Yeah, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
December 24th, maybe 25th.
Depends on the family
Depends
setup.
on the family. Sometimes he comes a week earlier before you go to Grandma and Grandpa's.
Or vacation. Santa showed up here 2 days later. Yep.
But anyway, late December nonetheless.
Yes.
Okay, so how did we get from a Christian bishop in the Middle East to this elf guy to a big tall guy? Well, I guess we know how we got to the tall guy. But then what's up with all this other stuff?
Sure.
Why does he wear red? What's with the reindeer?
I'm sure some pagan ritual.
Why the North Pole? Like, why under a tree? Like, when you really start thinking about it, it's like, what's up with that?
No, it's true. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So, here's the conspiracy, Zach.
Yes.
You're waiting with bated breath. I'm going to tell you, it's a pagan tradition that's held over from ancient drug ceremonies.
I 1000% believe this. I already do.
Do I need to go any further?
No, and that's why I said that a second. I was like, yeah, it sounds like a pagan tradition. Like,
but it's not just a pagan tradition. It's a pagan tradition from drug ceremonies.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool. All right. That's what I'm teaching my kids.
Silent night.
All right. So this theory, this idea, it starts with these nomadic Siberian tribes that lived essentially north of the Arctic Circle. You have the Kamchatal people and the Koryak people.
Cool.
From what I can tell, not too far apart. I'm sure there's plenty of differences, but they both have the same tradition that goes back as far as anyone can tell. Actually, before we go any further, I need to ask you another question. If I know we've already established you're not the best artist, but if I asked you to just draw a mushroom, what would it look like?
It would look like those mushrooms on Mario Brothers.
Yes.
Like that, right?
Yeah. Red mushrooms with white dots.
Yes.
Yeah, it's stereotypical. You see it when you're reading or a fairy tale book, or you think of the elves and the pixies and the fairies and all that stuff. And like you said, Super Mario. I actually have Super Mario Brothers written down. That's a very specific mushroom. It is called the Amanita muscaria. That's the Latin. In English, it's the fly agaric mushroom. It is highly toxic unless it's consumed correctly, which I would not want to tell people how to consume it correctly, like picking it when it's young and taking the caps and boiling it in lots of water and then discarding the water and then, frying it up in oil or maybe letting it dry out and eating it. I would never tell you how to do that. Far be it from me to tell you how to consume magic mushrooms, but you get the idea. So the point is, it's a very specific mushroom. It's highly toxic, but in lower doses, or if consumed correctly, guess what, man? You start to trip.
Sure.
You start to see stuff. You start to do some weird things. And guess where you can find these mushrooms? North of the Arctic Circle, in Siberia. And funny thing, both of these tribes of people I mentioned, they both have some very interesting traditions.
Okay, I think I see where this is going.
Took me long enough, but we're getting there.
Setting it up.
All right. So basically, before winter solstice, And remind the people when winter solstice is, Zach.
Is it 12/21, I believe?
Yep, right at the end of December.
Yep.
Oh, geez, right around 12/25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, just before the solstice, the shaman of the tribe will go out into the surrounding wilderness and collect these mushrooms. But he dresses a very specific way. He actually dresses like the mushroom with a red suit with white spots. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, Santa doesn't have white spots, but he does have the white trim and the white cuffs.
The buttons.
Exactly. Okay, so they dress in a red outfit with white spots. And they have their reindeer boots because these people, they herd reindeer.
Yeah.
So they have their reindeer boots that are black from dirt and tar and muck and everything else. And they go looking for these mushrooms. And what happens when they take the mushrooms at the solstice, every year they go on a vision. And this vision launches the shaman. And that's the actual verbiage I saw. It launches the shaman to the tree of life. And the tree of life is located at the top of the planet. And they are able to bring all of the problems, all of the worries, all of the struggles of the village. And the tree of life will give them knowledge and will tell them how to go forward in the new year as the sun starts, coming up a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier every single day. Now, these mushrooms, do you know where they're found? I'll tell you where they're found. They're found under birch trees and pine trees, primarily. Actually, the spores travel only on the cones of the pine trees.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's cool.
So they go and they pick the mushrooms and then they tie them to the bottom of the pine trees to dry them out. Which seems like, I don't know, leaving presents under a tree, perhaps?
I was going to say ornaments, too.
Or ornaments, thank you. Exactly. You're getting it. Mm-hmm. It's like you've been doing this for a while. The other place, if they don't have enough string or if it's too far away, they'll pick them and bring them back, and they'll put them in a sock, and they'll hang them over their fire to dry out.
Oh, my.
Uh-huh. But there's more.
Oh,
the other interesting thing, like I mentioned, these people herd reindeer. That's their livelihood in a lot of cases. Reindeer love to eat the mushrooms.
No way.
They really like it.
Okay.
And you can tell that the reindeer get a little, goofy when they do it. Another interesting thing that doesn't exactly tie into the whole Christmas story, or the Santa story, I should say, is that while it's toxic to eat the mushrooms raw, you can let the reindeer eat the mushrooms and then collect the reindeer urine and drink the reindeer urine and then have the same effects that it would otherwise. Which begs the question, who figured that out?
That's always the $1 million question. Whenever you hear about this stuff, even like ancient, beer making, wine making, coffee, like all this, it's like, who actually figured this out?
You did what?
Yes.
What were you hoping for here?
Yes.
I don't want to judge different cultures and so on. But okay, so obviously the mushrooms have a hallucinogenic effect. You see things, you see visions, it makes you think differently, so on and so forth, like any other, quote unquote magic mushroom might. The other interesting thing they do, at least in reindeer, is it acts like a muscle stimulant. It's essentially like getting a jolt of adrenaline. So these reindeer will find the mushrooms, they'll search them out, they'll eat them in large quantities, and then they'll just kind of like act goofy, and then they'll run at top speed, and they'll just like jump as much as they can. And because they have this like muscle stimulant, they're jumping incredibly high.
Got it. Almost like they're flying.
Now, could you imagine also being under the, the effects of these things, seeing visions, and then you see a giant reindeer jumping higher than you've ever seen a giant reindeer jump before. Okay. there's more to this, of course. All right. So on the actual solstice, the shaman will again dress in all red, and he'll travel throughout the village to the different yurts. And if you're not familiar with a yurt, it's like a large round tent-like structure. Mm-hmm. And there's, it kind of pointed at the top, and there's a hole where the smoke comes out. But you know what? It's at the end of December. There's a lot of snow on the ground north of the Arctic Circle. If the snow is packed up, drifted up to the door, how do you get in and out? Through the chimney, Zach.
Very interesting.
Through the chimney.
I like it.
So they climb in through the chimney and distribute the mushrooms to other people so that they might also be able to partake and have visions as well.
Got it.
Pretty interesting.
Very interesting.
So walk us through this if you can.
Okay. So you have people located in the far north.
Yep. Oh, the North Pole, Zach?
Yeah, north of the Arctic Circle, right?
Uh-huh.
That are herding reindeer.
Yep.
That wear red.
Yep.
That distribute gifts right around the time of the solstice.
Uh-huh. Through a chimney.
Into, sometimes in socks or, in and around like trees. And it sounds eerily similar to some of our Christmas traditions.
Exactly. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tim, I don't know. You're drawing a lot of, connections here. There certainly couldn't be a lot of people that actually believe this, right? Like that's...
We'll pretend, yes.
Pretend you don't believe this. Let me show you. This is obviously not spun out of a whole cloth by me. I want to show you some turn of the century Christmas cards, Christmas art, Christmas posters.
Creepy, I believe it already. Yeah, that's super creepy. Yep. Okay, weird. This is like drug-inspired art.
You can find this at the local head shop next to the Bob Marley poster in the blacklight.
So weird, isn't it? Especially that.
Tell us what you're seeing here.
Well, I'm seeing one where it's like these mushroom creatures are walking into a home while a kid is sitting by the fire.
Red and white mushrooms.
Yes, exactly. Uh-huh. I mean, these are all the same mushrooms, basically. I see one where it's like mushrooms with like faces and holding lanterns walking down a winter path. One where kids are picking mushrooms. One where there's these elves like swinging from a mushroom. It's really bizarre.
Mushroom imagery used to be a large part of the Christmas tradition. I mean, not that long ago. It's eerily... It's surprising how quickly we forget this collective Christmas past, I guess.
Oh, exactly. You
can't stop staring at
the artwork is just intense.
It's so weird. It is really so weird. So, Zach, I know you were at least 1,000% in earlier, but where are you in the Christmas Santa traditions are actually a holdover from ancient drug ceremonies?
I think it's all related. I think that I could totally 100% believe this, not ironically.
I know. Yeah. It's weird. It's like, okay, so that's why Santa comes down the chimney. And actually, oddly enough, like Victorian artwork involving chimney sweeps, they always have these mushrooms with them in their pockets or hanging off their shoulder or like hanging off their chimney sweep. It's like people associated coming down a chimney with this magic mushroom that was located in the Arctic Circle.
That's so weird.
It's so fascinating.
Also, so did the mushrooms grow? No, they must be dead in the snow but are growing up over them.
They grow under the... So think about a large pine tree. Underneath the pine tree is less snow, of course, and it's just kind of growing out of the ground there.
That's so weird. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, well, there you have it. That's my Christmas conspiracy for all you cool cats and kittens out there.
Thank you, Carol Baskins.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great holiday, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. Hope it's a time where you can at least, hopefully, maybe get a day off and spend it inside doing something fun that you enjoy. That's, I suppose, the least we could ask. So, If you haven't already, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your local mycologist about our podcast. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.